I was sneezing so much, I was constantly peeing my pants. I was probably like changing my pants, like, I don't know, like 10 times a day. And I was like, I'm so sick of this. This is enough.
Well, that's the beauty of it too. It's like it doesn't, like, yes, of course it's going to be hard, but it doesn't have to be miserable.
I'm not a runner. And I ended up running 100 miles between April 1st and the end of May. And I was so proud of myself for doing that. And I did it with zero incontinence. Have the picture perfect pregnancy, and I didn't.
Health doesn't wait for convenience. Like, that's so powerful.
Well, it looks like twins. And I look at my husband and he's like,
welcome, Kelsey, to the Female Blueprint podcast. I'm so excited to chat with you today.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. I'm so excited to be here and share my story.
I really love and care about you so much, obviously from like a past client perspective, but you've just always been like my avatar. Like, you've always been the person that like I would love to work with, love to help, and then become friends with too.
Yes. So the friends we've like never met in person, but ironically enough, we're both like Midwesterners. And so it's kind of funny how we tend to like gravitate towards each other.
Yes. And so I can't wait for everyone to hear your story from like who you used to be and like who you grew up as, and then kind of as you shifted into becoming a first-time mom, and then a couple years later a twin mom. And so now you have 3 under 2, and I just think your story is so awesome. I can't wait to share it with everybody today. So let's just get started kind of sharing just like your story, like growing up, like what was life like for you? And then, you know, how did you get to where you're at today?
Yeah. So I've always been an athlete my whole life. Like, we were the kids that kind of tried a little bit of everything. And then eventually my parents were kind of like, okay, you have to like pick a sport.
Pick one.
And yeah, at the time, I decided to keep going with competitive dance, and I did gymnastics. And when I got into high school, I focused more on gymnastics than I left dance. But then once I got into college, I was kind of like, I'm so bored of just like going to like the regular gym. And a friend of mine had told me about CrossFit, and I was like, okay, that sounds pretty cool. But CrossFit back in even 2011 when I started was kind of like nobody really knew about it.
It was new, right? Yeah.
Yeah, it was still like very garage OG like days. And so I found one that was like 20 miles off campus, but I decided to go, and I fell in love with it from day one. Fast forward, after college, I moved out to California, and I think the like CrossFit was the best thing for me after college, because after you start like, you have friends established in college, and then if you move away, which you're very familiar with, it's really hard to make friends in a new place. So CrossFit was perfect for me because I was able to meet new people, develop my own relationships, and make home my own while being away from home. And that's one thing I just really loved about the community. And so I've been doing CrossFit since 2011. I started coaching CrossFit in 2015. And I met my husband within the CrossFit community, like not,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, not at my gym specifically, but we met through a network of friends within the CrossFit community. And so I think that's kind of a cool story to tell too.
So you moved out to California by yourself?
Mm-hmm. Well, no, I moved out for a guy.
Cool.
Which is kind of like some of the conversation we had before was, you know, I moved out for him, and honestly, I'm so glad I'm not with him, but I'm so glad he brought me out here at the same time.
Blessings.
Yeah, he wanted kids, but he didn't want to necessarily be married to have kids. And that was a big thing for me, was that I needed to make sure that my morals were stuck to, and that I wanted to be married. I'm not saying that's right for everybody, but for me personally, I wanted to be married in order to have kids. And so we stopped dating after 4 years. And then lo and behold, I met my husband, and he is wonderful. We started dating, I think, after a couple weeks of knowing each other, and we just kind of knew that
Hmm.
that was it.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, and he is a CrossFit coach too, and he's a fireman, and so I just, anyways, we got married in 2022. And then we decided, we're like, hey, we're, mid 30s. We want to start trying to have kids right away. We've kind of lived our lives, right? And
Hmm.
I had 3 miscarriages and then on our journey. And that kind of really just opened up my eyes to there's just so much more to the woman's body. And I was very much a competitive athlete, and like, you gotta like fuel your body right, and like um abs is like, the ultimatum, and like just all of the very stereotypical things, right? But once I had my miscarriages, it totally shifted my perspective on strength and the woman's body. And once we finally got pregnant with my son, it was just very eye opening. And I was like, I think this is what I want to do. I want to help other women. And then um, I very much first time mom mentality that I'm going to stick to my exercises, and I'm going to, have the picture perfect pregnancy. And I didn't. I still had some complications with, miscarriages, and I had to take progesterone until I was 14 or 15 weeks pregnant, just to make sure I could maintain the pregnancy. Even then, I think week 9, I had a really big bleed that like scared the hell out of me, and lots of big emotions.
Absolutely.
It was a lot. But fast forward, I really slowed things down. That's when I met you, and I was like, I need help because I was having major incontinence issues. I had the wildest like pregnancy, in the sense that I had the craziest allergies. And I know this may not sound related, but I had the
You got
craziest
pregnancy
allergies.
allergies.
And then I was sneezing so much, I was constantly peeing my pants. I was probably like changing my pants, like, I don't know, like 10 times a day. And I was like, I'm so sick of this. This is enough. And then I found you on Instagram, and I was like, something's got to change. And I didn't really know anything about pelvic floor health. And it was a great way to teach me to slow down. I'm always like have to be doing something, go, go, go. I have to be lifting the heaviest weights and doing all the RX workouts. And so, very humbling experience for me to just slow down and say, hey, we're in a different season. This is how we're going to approach this. And it really helped a lot of the aches and pains during my pregnancy. And then, I had a pretty much precipitous birth. My water broke at 38 weeks and 5 days. And after I had been to the doctor that day for my weekly appointments, I came home and I sat on the toilet and my water broke. And I was like, this is it. And, everyone's birth stories are so different. So things can take a while, even after your water breaks. Maybe like 10 minutes after it broke, I was like, my husband's like, okay, things are packed. What do you want to do? I was like, we're going to the hospital. I just knew my body was like, hey, we're ready to do this. And so I think like 9:30, my water broke. And then we got to the hospital about 10:30. And then my son was here by 1:15.
So
So,
fast.
so fast. And so I think a labor is less, or precipitous birth is less than 4 hours. And I think that was like, or less than 3, something like that. Anyways, and I pushed for an hour. He did end up needing vacuum assistance, but I still only ended up with a very minimal tear, like first degree tear.
Mm-hmm.
But then, with healing and figuring my body out postpartum, I was like, okay, something's still not right here, and ended up with a little bit of prolapse. And you had mentioned I could have had some symptoms from gymnastics. I could have had that, from being an athlete my whole life.
Mm-hmm.
And this just exacerbated it.
Cherry on top.
Totally. And I don't think I started like doing running, jumping, things like that until like 6 months postpartum. But I took the proper steps and I continued to work with you postpartum. And I ended up, I'm not a runner. And I ended up running 100 miles between April 1st and the end of May. I don't run. I'm not a runner. And I was so proud of myself for doing that. And I did it with zero
Yeah.
incontinence. So that was a
Yeah.
pretty awesome, like check mark for me to
Yeah.
like bucket list
So
thing.
cool.
Yeah. So, fast forward, I mean, I got pregnant again. I was breastfeeding my son up until 14 months postpartum. And I was still breastfeeding my son, and I had gone on a work trip, and I had even taken a pregnancy test before I went on the work trip. Came back negative, so I was like, okay, good. And I was going to visit a friend while I was there. We had some cocktails,
Mm-hmm.
Sure enough, I get home and my husband's at work and I'm taking care of my son. And I stood up and I was like really lightheaded. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. The last time I felt like that, I was pregnant. And this was 9:30 at night. I took a test before I hopped in the shower. And if you know anything about taking a pregnancy test, you're supposed to take them first thing in the morning because, your levels are higher first thing in the morning. 9:30 at night, instantly positive. And I was like,
wow.
Okay, well, then I must be farther along than I thought. I must just not have been able last week when I took the test. Maybe it didn't catch it. So I texted my husband immediately. I was like, well,
Guess what?
here we are. And we had decided, I guess I should back up a little bit. We had decided that, the second time around, we wanted to be, we just wanted to have more fun with it. And after what we had gone through, we wanted to kind of take some of the stress off. And we're like, hey, we want God to kind of decide if this is meant to be, it's meant to be. And if not, then that's okay too. And sure enough, we, got pregnant almost immediately. And then right before we went on our family vacation, I had my ultrasound. And I was still like very early, so they do a transvaginal ultrasound at this point. And as soon as she sticks it in, I was like, I didn't say anything though. I didn't say anything. My husband and my son were in the room. The doctor, the nurse, they were all in the room. And I just looked and I saw 2 sacs and I was like, oh my God. And he goes, well, it looks like twins. And I look at my husband and he's like, what? I was like, he's like, but I can't find the other heartbeat. He's like, so just give me a minute. He had to call in a tech. There's like some switches they have to do on the machine. And she goes, there it is. Yep, there it is. Twins. Great. One thing I didn't know, well, several things I didn't know. I knew that breastfeeding, if you're breastfeeding and you try to conceive, that can increase your odds of twins. I did know that. I knew that also being in your mid 30s, that can increase your odds. So we got a double whammy there. And also a high diet in dairy increases your odds as well. So I had like a triple whammy.
That's so funny because I tell everybody that I want to be a twin mom. Like I want a twin pregnancy so bad and I don't even know why, but I just do. Okay, so mid 30s, I need to be breastfeeding. So I need this is a second pregnancy now. And dairy. All right, I'm writing it down.
Yep. Yeah. And also obviously you can be like if you twins run on your maternal side, that
Yeah.
also increases your odds.
Even
So
more.
now my children will be
You
more
have twins in your
likely
family?
to have. We don't have any twins in my family. My aunt has twins, but it's not like directly on my maternal side.
Okay.
So um now I've started it though. So now that
Yeah.
I have twins, my girls will be highly
Increased
likely to
likelihood. Yeah.
have twins.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah, at this point, I'm immediately already pulling back on my fitness because I'm exhausted.
Hmm.
I will say, with my between my first and my second pregnancy, I didn't have much like food aversions or even what is like nausea at all. I did have more nausea with the girls, but not a ton. Like I never
Yeah.
threw up or anything like that.
Yeah.
The fatigue is real for sure. So, but I was a lot less cautious during my twin pregnancy at the start than I was with my son because I was so nervous I was going to, for some reason, cause another miscarriage with him. Then, you know, now what I know is like that's not what causes miscarriages. So I did still take progesterone with the girls, a lower dose, thankfully. And I kept just exercising as I felt it was appropriate and whatever I was feeling that day. I still lifted pretty heavy in the first trimester. And then once my belly started growing pretty rapidly, I was like, okay, this is a whole nother ball game. By the time I was even, 13 weeks pregnant, I was like, I have to tell people because I can't hide this anymore.
Hmm.
I just you grow so much more rapid.
Yeah.
It's insane. And not every twin, pregnancy is like that, but it was like I had twins and it was my second pregnancy. So when you
Hmm.
start having more pregnancies, you start showing earlier and earlier just because your uterus is like, hey, we know what to do here. And it starts expanding. So I had die girl twins. So that means they had their own sacs and their own placentas. So not only am I growing two babies, I have two separate sacs and two separate placentas. So I'm just like
Wow.
full, right? I'm
I bet
growing.
you were so hungry.
Yeah, what's so funny? Somebody had asked me that. They're like, oh, you must be eating so much. But I don't think my diet really changed from postpartum diet to diet. I think because I was just focusing on nutrient dense foods, I was eating a lot of, meat on the bone, high protein, high fat, lots of vegetables. It didn't change a whole lot. I was still eating about five to six times a day, which is very normal for me. Um, so I was actually pretty shocked that it didn't change that much. And fast forward, I had the girls at 35 and 3 weeks, went into labor completely naturally. And they were pretty big for preemie babies. They were 5'8" and 5'12".
Okay.
So
All
I
that
wasn't
protein.
all the protein. I was definitely not undernourished. I wasn't
Yeah.
undernourished. The girls were
Yeah.
not undernourished. Every ultrasound appointment I went to, they were like, you got some pretty healthy babies here.
Yeah.
So to go and have premature babies, every nurse was like, I had no idea that they were premature. They
Hmm.
were tiny
Yeah.
compared to my son. They were small.
Right.
My son was
Yeah.
just about 8 pounds. So they were 2.5 pounds smaller than my son was. They were itty bitty, and now they're chunky, so chunky. It's
They're
great.
so cute.
But yeah, I tried to stay. I tried to exercise majority of my pregnancy, and I will say about week 26 to 28 is when it got really rough. Really rough. I was exhausted. I had a toddler. And people don't realize that that is more exhausting than pregnancy itself. Trying to chase a toddler
Mm-hmm.
and growing a baby or two is so much more exhausting. Like, I liked postpartum sleep better than I liked pregnancy sleep, even with my son. And everyone's like, oh, yeah, well, you're going to have your hands full. You're not going to sleep ever again. And I'm like,
Yeah.
you don't even know.
Yeah.
I am enjoying postpartum sleep so much more than I
Yeah.
did pregnancy sleep.
During pregnancy.
And so about 26 to 28 weeks, I really slowed down. I was only exercising. When I say exercising, I was lifting weights. I was only lifting weights 1 to 3 days a week, maybe on a good week.
Mm-hmm.
And I was
Yeah.
just trying to walk every other
Yeah.
day. That was the most important thing to me, was that I stayed moving,
Mm-hmm.
because I can see how I have seen how being stagnant, what that does to your body, what for labor, for postpartum. So I just tried to stay moving. That was my goal. And then the morning that I went into labor, I knew it. I knew I was going into labor. I felt, uh, you know, the I felt one of their heads in my pelvis. I was like, yeah, something's happening. Thankfully, my husband was coming home that day. He was at work and I had an appointment scheduled. And I said, you know what? Can you just check me? I just really feel like something's happening. And he checked me and he's like, you're at a 4. And I was like, oh, okay.
Your
So
husband checked you?
no, no, the doctor, sorry.
I was like, wait a minute.
Good.
It's
No,
like, dang.
when I went to the doctors, he checked me and he's like, yeah, you're at a 4. And I was like, okay,
Wow.
are you on call this weekend? And he's like, I'm on call for the next 36 hours. You are not making it to the weekend. And I was like, oh, okay. So I didn't have my hospital bag packed or anything. And so I texted my husband immediately after the appointment. I said, please throw in all the laundry that's in the baskets. He's like, what do you mean? I was like, I need to pack some stuff because this baby's coming soon. Or these
Mm-hmm.
babies are coming soon, I should say.
Yeah.
And so I came home. Actually, I did go to the office to get some work done first before I went
No
home.
way.
And one of my friends was like, how are you feeling? I was like, actually, I think I'm in labor. And she's like, what are you doing? She's like, get
Why
the
are you?
heck out of here. Like,
Yeah.
go home. So I was like, I got to get a couple things done. It's fine. So I went home, packed my bag. We had dinner. I took a bath because it just felt right. I was like,
Mm-hmm.
I think I'm going to take a shower. And then I told my husband, I was like, you know what? I think I'm going to take a bath and just chill for a minute. Took a bath, got everything done. I think we both went to bed about 11. And I woke up at 12:45 starving. I was starving. And I was like, I'm going to go get a snack. And then I laid back down about 1:45. Immediately, my water broke. And I grabbed my husband's hand and he's like, what? And I was like, my water broke. And that was the wildest feeling in the entire planet. Like, because when
It didn't
my
feel
water
like a
broke
birth.
when my water broke with my son, I was on the toilet. So it just went in the toilet. I was laying down and it literally like shot back up inside of me. It was like, imagine a water balloon like being thrown up your vagina. That's essentially what it felt like.
Oh
It was
gosh.
the wildest feeling. And I was like, okay, I'm going to call our friend Emily. She came over to stay with my son. And we went to the hospital, got to the hospital at 2:30. And they were like, oh, are you a scheduled C-section? And I was like, no, we're having these babies. And then I told the nurse, I was like, I really feel like I have to push. And she's like, okay, let me check you. And they hadn't even put like an IV in me or anything at this point. And um, I get on the bed and she's like, all I hear is, ladies, we have a 10. We need to go to the OR now because you have to deliver in the OR when you have twins.
Yeah.
And so they throw a sheet over me because I'm on all fours on the bed. They throw a sheet over me and roll me down to the OR. And I was like, I need to push. And they're like, do not push. I was like, I don't care. I'm going to push. And two pushes, and baby A was, she flew out of me. And one of the nurses caught her. I have never felt so relieved in my entire life because all that pressure immediately went away. I was like, oh God. Like, I felt like I had just lost, like, 50 pounds.
30
Like,
pounds. Yeah.
whew, it feels so good. I was laughing because it felt that good. And obviously the oxytocin is like flowing at this point. And I turn around and in walks my husband and in walks the doctor. So both my husband and the doctor missed the delivery of the first baby. And then about 14 minutes later, baby B was delivered.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was wild. And now I am 14 weeks postpartum. And I'm really shocked at my journey. I've been checking my own diastasis recti, and I'm down to like a finger. I think right after birth, I checked myself. I was about maybe 2.5 fingers width.
Mm-hmm.
So now back down to a finger, which is amazing. I'm shocked. And I took a very conservative approach to postpartum as well, because I was like, my body just built 2 babies. I delivered 2 babies, but I actually felt better this postpartum than I did with my son, with sleep, with like vaginal heaviness, anything like that. I didn't really have a ton of that. I had a small tear, which I didn't even have them repair because I asked the doctor, I said, is it large enough that you need, it needs stitches? And he's like, I don't have to put stitches in it. It'll repair on its own. I was like, great, don't put stitches in it.
Yeah.
So just a very conservative approach. I did a lot of breath work early on. And then I got a wild hair up my butt to start trying some jump rope a couple weeks ago. And I did like 50 double unders with no leakage.
Hell yes, Kelsey.
And I hadn't done a double under or any jump roping since my previous pregnancy. Or I mean, my previous postpartum, not my previous pregnancy. So over, I would say 10, 11 months, I hadn't done any jump rope at all. And I was like, I'm just going to start doing some like trial and error stuff. I'm going to try running, see how that feels. Cause I feel like that's kind of really how you have to do it to know if you have any,
100%.
Incontinence. I do feel like there's maybe still a little prolapse, but with the knowledge that I've gotten from you and, a pelvic floor therapist that I've seen in person, it's like, and I just know what to do this time. I just felt so much more prepared, even for a twin pregnancy, which a lot of people don't have that knowledge, And I think the biggest thing is people don't realize, like, they think to themselves, oh, well, I feel fine, so I'm just going to keep doing what I'm going to do. But they don't realize that the load inside of your abdominal, or your abdomen and your core, like, just because you feel okay doesn't mean that it's not affecting it during your pregnancy or even postpartum.
100%.
And so that's like the biggest thing for me is I was like, I know I feel okay, but I don't want to continue to do something if I'm having leakage, or like, I just knew that I had 2 babies in me. I had 2 placentas. I had, all this fluid. And I was like, it's going to do me a disservice to even attempt to do some of these things, even that I did with my son. And so I took a lot more conservative approach, and it helped me. I did lose a lot of strength just because I didn't feel good enough to be lifting heavy, but still moving my body and giving, I was still doing a lot of breath work, a lot of core work, even without weights during pregnancy. Because sometimes that's what it would be. I'm like, okay, I feel fine. I'm going to go do some like core work in the garage, and I'd get in the, or even like, oh, I'm going to do a light dumbbell workout. And I'd get in there and I'm like, I don't feel like doing anything. But I was like, okay, I know I have to do something. So I would do like some glute bridges or some just very light dumbbell work to,
Yeah.
help support me. So it's been really great this postpartum. And even people have complimented me. They're like, you don't look like you just had twins. Like, from a sense that I don't even look tired. I felt tired
Right.
in the beginning, but like I just knew how
Definitely.
to mitigate things a little bit more. And I felt entirely different this time around than I did with my son. So it's been a really fun journey so far. Hard, really hard, but it's been really fun.
Well, that's the beauty of it too. It's like it doesn't like yes, of course it's going to be hard, but it doesn't have to be miserable and it doesn't have to be like the worst experience of your life where a lot of people do always describe it as that. Like you're saying like where people are like, "Well, just you wait until you're not going to have any sleep or you're not going to be able to do whatever you want or work out or whatever." And it's like yeah, of course those things can be true. Like it's hard, but you still have to make decisions every day that still are for the betterment of you too because like you are the one providing quality care to
Mm-hmm.
your babies. And if you're not showing up for yourself, like how can you really you're just pouring from a half empty cup all the time or very low empty cup, whatever you want to look at it, right? Like um so for from your first pregnancy to your second pregnancy, what do you think are like the biggest lessons that you took from like your first postpartum experience to your second postpartum experience? Because you said you feel better this time around. So what kind of lessons were you like, oh, I really want to prepare myself better this second time? Or did you just like kind of go into it and you just had those natural instincts?
It was for sure a lot of natural instincts. But at the same time, I have done so much work educating myself on what having a hospital birth looks like, what having an unmedicated birth looks like, having the right support system, because I think that is probably the biggest thing. My husband, we didn't hire a doula or anything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I trusted my husband to make decisions on my behalf if I could not make any decisions.
Mm-hmm.
He did a great job, both times. And I think having the fast birth the first time around helped him prepare him even more for the second time around. It was just crazy because we had two babies. So he was like in between babies. He looks at me, he goes, "What do you want me to do?" Because the girls did need a little oxygen, like 8 minutes of oxygen, I think they both got. I said, "Stay with baby. I'm okay." And
Mm-hmm.
so that communication and knowing, he knew exactly what to do. He knew to look to me and say, "What do you want?"
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of people don't prepare their partners. And having a good partner for birth is incredibly important because so many people are like, "Oh, why don't you just have a home birth?" That wasn't what we wanted. We didn't want a home birth, and we knew that we could have the hospital birth the way that we wanted, the way
Yes.
that I wanted. I went unmedicated, no time for an IV, and my babies were healthy. I was healthy, and you're at a hospital. So if there is an emergency, because people are like, "Oh, well, you should get the IV, you should do all these things." It's like you're at a hospital. These nurses and doctors are trained for those emergency things.
Quick things. Yep, they're there for that.
Because I think I like to use this reference. If you got in a car accident, you're not going to have an IV port for them to work on you if you have to go into surgery, right? The same exact thing, that wasn't the original plan. Was I was going to get a hep lock. And I was so uncomfortable with the thought of somebody putting a needle in me while I was having contractions. I changed my mind on the spot and I said, "Please don't do that." And then my husband was like, "Nope, like let's skip it. It's fine." So to have him support me, um, you know, I think the partner is the biggest thing because he's also there. And I do truly think we have a leg up in the sense that we are both coaches. And that's how we approached pregnancy the first time and the second time, and we approached birth. This was the Super Bowl, right?
Mm-hmm.
We prepped all of pregnancy, and every practice, every day, every workout, every just event that happened at home, he's constantly there coaching me. And having that athlete coach mindset is huge because we know that pregnancy is a season. It's going to end eventually. Birth is a very short season. It's a game, right? We can call that, it's another workout.
Mm-hmm.
It's temporary. It ends. Postpartum is an ongoing season, but it ebbs and flows in different ways. And I will say that also leading into that is you have to prepare your mind for motherhood. And I would say it shifted my everything shifted during my first pregnancy, but it shifted even more during my second pregnancy because it was so much harder. It was harder having a toddler. It was harder being pregnant with twins. But I just kept having to tell myself, hey, this is a season. This is going to end. This is, we're going to have hard sleep nights, but I'll get better sleep at some point. And maybe that's why my postpartum experience, even with the twins, was that much better. Because I was only getting some nights like 2 hours of sleep at first. But people are like, well, you don't look like you just got 2 hours of sleep. And I'm like, yeah, but I know it's because I know that this is really, it's really hard.
Mm-hmm. You can be mad about it and sad and like upset,
Totally.
or just accept it and
Yeah.
put on a new face.
Yeah. And I think that's it. Is there were some nights where I was like, I would literally like talk to the girls and I'd be like, we need to get our shit together, ladies. Like, come on. Like I would just talk
come
to them.
on.
But for us, it was, my husband kind of managed the toddler and I would manage the twins. And so we had a really good system. But overall, I think the biggest thing is that you just have to shift your mindset. You have to tell yourself things are never going to be the same. Things are never going to be the same from having zero child to one children or one child. And then things aren't going to be the same after one child to two or two to three or whatever. I think that's what a lot of people miss. You're allowed to feel all the emotions that come with transition and motherhood. But if the more you resist motherhood and think that, well, I need to have my own time to work out and I need to do this and I need to do that and you're going to have a really hard time in motherhood. Like a really hard time.
It's more of like the expectations, right? You're just gonna have to adjust your expectations for the seasons that you're in. And like you're saying, like the seasons are gonna change, just like regular seasons do, right? Like not everything is gonna be this horrible experience. And I mean, some people might have that reality, but there are so many factors that can help you through those hard seasons. Like you're saying, it's mindset.
Yeah,
That's so
absolutely.
important. So what kind of things so now that you're 14 weeks out, like what kind of hardships are you going through now? Like 3 to 4 months postpartum, like how is life going right now, and like your fitness journey and finding time for yourself, for your family, for your husband? Like what is that like?
Yeah, it's
And working. Are you still working?
I'm going back at the end of this month, beginning of next month. So that's kind of our next part of our journey, which I know is going to be it's going to be difficult. It's going to be another,
New season.
It's been tough in the sense that we have a little bit of a different journey because my husband isn't home all the time. You know, he's a fireman, so he was just gone for 2 weeks and got home today. So I was solo parent for 2 weeks straight.
Wow.
And we don't have a huge village here in the sense that we don't have family that lives like right next door to us or down the street from us. My mother-in-law lives a couple hours away, and my family's all still in the Midwest. And we've the last 2 weeks was really hard, to say the least. It was definitely really great practice. But we found our jam by the end. You know, my husband was like, just one more sleep, I'll be home tomorrow. And I'm like, don't even come home. I've figured it out. I've got
We're
it.
good.
But he's like, yeah, right. I'm like, yeah, you're right. So those transitions are hard. Um, you know, he just, before we hopped on here, he was getting little man down for a nap and he's teething. He's got his molars coming in and
Oh.
he was like screaming, and people don't realize that the transition of him coming home is not just difficult for my husband, it's difficult for my children too. It's difficult for, you know, my son. He's been in a jam of just mom the last 2 weeks. And so um exercise has been hard to come by, but I have a very realistic expectation for me is that I attempt to go to the gym or exercise 3 days a week. We do have, because I am a coach, I, you know, have access to the gym. So there are some days where I'm like, okay, I'm going to go there when there's no classes and I'm just going to let little man run around while
Mm-hmm.
I exercise. You know, I do the same thing in the garage. He works out with me in the garage. I shouldn't say he doesn't work out with me, but
Mm-hmm.
you
He's in there.
the garage while I exercise.
Yeah.
And I think that's so important for moms to realize, like, as long as you're moving every day, I think that's important. So if on the days that we're not going to the gym or I'm not exercising, I'm taking a walk with him. I'm going on a bike ride. I'm doing something, right? We're moving. Um, but I don't purposefully schedule time uninterrupted to exercise.
You just get it done when you can.
I just get it done when I can. And a lot of that really has to do with the fact that my husband, he was just gone for 2 weeks. So I have to wait 2 weeks for him to come home so I can exercise? I certainly cannot afford to have a babysitter every time I exercise. And I do know there are gyms that exist that have childcare all the time. That's great. I don't belong to those gyms. We do have a
Mm-hmm.
couple classes where we offer childcare, so I try to utilize that when I can. I take him to daycare, so on the days that I have daycare, I try to utilize that, but I still have the girls with me.
Mm-hmm.
So it's for me, it's knowing that health doesn't wait for convenience. It's I just got to get it done when I can get it done and when I feel good. So that's kind of our journey right now with fitness.
Yeah. And now I just love your approach to that and like the mindset that you have and the way you just kind of described everything. Like health doesn't wait for convenience. Like that's so powerful. And now like you share this online. Like you share real life online, which I think is another layer to what speaks about you, right? Like what's really important to you is also helping other people and educating other people that are in maybe this season of life or are looking forward to this season of life. Maybe they are not pregnant or maybe they're going to be pregnant, or are pregnant, postpartum, whatever. And so, how has that kind of shaped you showing up online? Because some people don't like showing that kind of side of things, but for you, I feel like it's maybe like an outlet. Like you're kind of like, I'm going through this. Let me share my journey and help other people. So how has that been for you? Like sharing that real life online?
A lot of women have said that they appreciate the reality. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
I think there's a lot of fake on the internet. There's a lot of,
Mm-hmm.
you know, hey, let me turn my camera angle this way and you won't be able to see the stack of papers on my counter. Here, let me
Mhm.
just move out of the way and show you my wonderful pile of, I don't even know what this is in my guest room at this point. I mean, this is like the stuff that I show. This is just like, I haven't gotten to this, whatever this is, but you know what? It's away in
Doesn't
a
matter.
room. Yeah. Um, it's been, it has been an outlet for me, which I do feel like, and you can probably attest to this being in your 30s, the older that you get, the less
You
fucks
give a
that you
shit.
give.
Yes. Yeah, you're just like, whatever, I don't care.
And I think it's been really cool to see, I put a couple of things, I put a couple of posts that went viral out there, and some people, there were very few people that were like
Mean.
mean, but most of the moms that commented were like, thank you so much for showing this. Thank you
Mhm.
so much. And I think we just have to remember that there are a lot of people that have very similar situations, but you don't know what they're actually going through. And the space I created is a safe space for whoever needs it. Whatever you're going through, I actually had to kind of make a comment to somebody to break up a little keyboard warrior fight because, somebody was saying, well, I had all those things happen to me and I still was able to do this, this, and this. And I'm like, but
Gosh.
you don't know what some of these women are going through mentally
Mhm.
or what their actual situation is like.
Mhm.
There's something that we're always missing and that we can't see. And I think that's really big. I think that's a really big thing about motherhood, right? Is
Mhm.
that we may see a mom at the grocery store with a screaming toddler. We may see a mom working out alone. We may see, all these things. And your first thought is, well, I'm so jealous that this mom gets to work out by herself. Maybe that's the only day that week that she's gotten to work out by herself.
Yeah, they're
You
so
know,
quick to judge versus just be like, "Oh, that's great." Like, or
totally.
why even have a thought behind it? Like, besides just jealousy and hate, right?
Yeah.
Like,
It's like just, moms are incredible. We just, no matter how tired we are or whatever, we just figure it out. We just do it because a lot of times nobody else is going to show up for our kids. I mean, yes, there's dads, but right, the reality is men and
that's
women
it.
have
Yeah.
different brains, right? We don't
Yeah.
we don't think the same. Moms are nurturers, like dads are there. They are supportive, but
It's
it's
just
not the
different,
same.
male, female.
It's different. And so for me, I just want women to know like you can still take care of yourself. Exactly what I said before, right? Health doesn't wait for convenience. So if you've got dishes in the sink, but you really need to work out, leave the dishes. Just go outside and go for a walk or take do 100 squats, cook dinner and do squats in between you cooking dinner, like put the chicken nuggets in the oven and do 20 squats. Like,
Mhm. It doesn't need to
we,
be perfect. It doesn't need to look perfect either. Like going to the gym and like doing it in
yes,
this way. It's like we make that up. Like
yeah,
fitness can happen anywhere.
it totally can. And I will be the first to admit, like, I don't have a matching workout set. I don't have like my garage has a lot of equipment in it, but I also have like bikes and paperwork and boxes, and like I don't have this perfect setup at home. And I think that's what I just want to like show to other moms is like my situation is not perfect and yours doesn't have to be either.
Yeah.
And getting something in is better than not doing anything at all. And
Absolutely.
I think I like would hear my mom say that stuff all the time, you know, like uh, my mom would be like, "Oh, I just want to wait until I lose weight to do this," or "I just want to wait for this to happen." You know, like but there's never a perfect time. I could also say like, well, I want to wait to be done having kids to start exercising again. But
Yeah.
guess what? Like my kids need me. And if I'm not
Healthy.
healthy, I cannot be there for my children. And I've seen too many of my family members, you know, not take care of themselves in the way that they should. And I just don't want my kids taking care of me when I'm 50 or when I'm 60 or even when I'm 70. Want to be able to pick up my grandkids. I want to be able to get on the floor and play with my grandkids. You know, I think people don't think about those things. They
No.
think about, I want to have these muscles now and do all this. And it's just like, well, you know, what about your grandkids? Like, you just, you need to be able to keep up. I mean, if you're going to have grandkids, right? But like,
Right.
even so, if you want to have a fulfilled life, you have to be healthy to do it. And the big thing I talk about too is having long term independence.
Mm-hmm.
Because, like, if you slip and fall, are you able to get back up off the floor? You know,
Mm-hmm.
sit on the toilet by yourself? Can you feed yourself a meal?
Yep.
If you don't have those things, then health
Nothing else
doesn't really
matters.
exist.
Right. That's so good. Well, it's been so amazing hearing your story and everything. Like, this is, I think, hearing the birth stories as well as like where you're at today, and then like really where you're at today in just terms of like how positive you can be for other women that are struggling with where they're at today, and then or maybe like just listening to where you were and like the things that you also struggled with and how they can relate to that if they're in that current season of life. So I do have a last minute question for you because this is a question I ask everybody on the podcast. So what's one rule, piece of advice, or like a small blueprint that you were told to follow maybe from your mom growing up or other elders around you, or since becoming a mom and becoming an adult woman, that you've thrown out? And then what did you replace it with?
I wrote a couple of these down.
You knew the question
um,
was coming.
yeah. If I had to pick one, probably that motherhood is hard. It's the hardest thing you will ever do in your entire life. But it's a different, you know, it's a different season of life and it's like a spiritual rebirth essentially. I mean, that's what matrescence is. And you don't have to like the more you resist it, the harder it's going to be for you.
That's really good.
So lean in as hard as you can.
Just adjust your expectations.
Yeah. And trust your instincts.
Yeah.
I think that until I got to this point in my life, I've never been told to trust my instincts. And now I'm like, no, it's this is if there's a time in your life you have to do it, it's now.
Yeah. Do you feel like you have a like a solid support system to go back to that like still has the same like your mom, for example, or like someone in your life where you're like, hey, like should you check in with them first, or are you like, no, like I'm good, I got this, like you're just trusting your own intuition?
I'm very selective of the people that I ask for advice because one, well, I should just say because of boundaries.
Yeah, you have to.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
have to
And you'll
protect
know.
yourself and your family for sure.
You'll know who to reach out to and who not to reach out to.
Good. Oh, I loved this conversation. I really don't want it to be over because I feel like I could have a million other questions for you. Um, but thank you for coming on today and sharing your story. And if people want to follow you and learn from you and relate with you, where can they find you?
Yeah, you can find me at Strong Her, so Strong HER Motherhood, um, just on Instagram. And I don't really have a huge TikTok, so I'm not even going to give
Mhm.
that to you.
Yeah,
I'm
same.
a millennial. I love my Instagram. I'm not a
Same.
TikToker, so that's where you
Yeah.
can find me.
Amazing. Well, again, thank you so much. And it's been a pleasure getting to know you and hearing more of your story.
Thanks, Courtney.
If you guys like this episode, don't forget to follow the Female Blueprint podcast and leave a 5-star review. It really helps me reach more women who need to hear these messages. And if someone popped into your mind while you were listening today, maybe a friend, a sister, a client, share this episode with them. You never know how much it might help them feel less alone or even be the nudge that they need to finally start rewriting the blueprint for their own life. Thank you for being here. Thank you for listening. And thank you for being a part of this community. I'll see you in the next episode.